my stilettos.
Welcome to the Stiletto Room, the unfiltered chat show where no topic is off limits. I'm Dina LaPolt, entertainment attorney, advocate, and tenacious trailblazer. Each week, I sit down with creative visionaries, iconic disruptors, and unapologetic originals to dive deep into work, life, love, LGBTQ plus journeys, social justice, and everything in between. So grab a seat, get comfortable, and let's get real. Because, baby, this is the Stiletto Room.
Hi, you are in the Stiletto Room with a very, very, very special person. His name is Joel Zimmerman, but he is known as deadmau5. Hey, Joel, welcome to the Stiletto Room.
Dina, should I like start the clock?
No. Oh, why? Because
am I
you
getting
charging
for this? Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah. As a matter of fact, we were talking about that earlier. We're like, how does that work with podcasts? Like, generally, I don't think anyone's ever been paid to be on a podcast. No, because you get paid in exposure, right?
I guess.
That's kind of a weird business.
It's fucking whack.
You just get some crazy high-profile guy on like some normal-ass podcast, but the podcaster's the guy that's raking in all the subscriptions.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then the guy that went on just gets like some camera.
Yeah. Or the host. Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why we have day gigs. Like you have to make music and I have to like be a lawyer.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, I want to talk about so much stuff, deadmau5, because you're my favorite.
Don't you forget.
You're my favorite. You know, I'm going to get fired in about 2 minutes when this airs.
We'll see how this goes.
By
this is
gazillion
our
people.
5-year renewal
Yeah, exactly.
process. We do it publicly.
But I want to talk about when you were growing up, because you grew up with a very strong woman who's amazing, Nancy, single mom. Do you remember that growing up with her?
Yeah, not always. It was about half and half. My parents were together all the way up until I was like 16, basically, and then they
divorced.
Separate ways. But generally, yeah. Like I think you're an idiot until like 18 anyway. You know, so I think growing and learning starts from there anyway. So yeah, she was obviously very proponent in that process.
Yeah, she told me a story one day, which was awesome.
No.
Which was the TV in the living room was broken. So she put it out like what you do in the country. Like she put it out.
Curb.
What?
You kick it to the curb.
You kick it to the curb.
Literally.
It was outside on the curb waiting for the garbage truck. And then she comes home from work that day. And you had the TV taken apart in the living room.
Yeah.
And she was really mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, what happened?
I think it was a CRT. So like there's some real like gnarly chemicals in there if you break that glass. But no. She was just mad. I just wanted to know how it worked. But I was dumb. I was like, it must have been when I was like 12.
Yeah. She said you were like 9.
10 or young. I don't know. I don't remember
9.
anything. But I remember that was like kind of not the only thing, but I just like taking things apart.
Yeah, but you put it back together again and then it worked.
A little bit. Like it worked to a point. I remember the only reason I really wanted to do it selfishly is so that because they got a new TV and then I wanted, we were like a 1 TV house kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make it work so I could play Atari in my room without having to ask if you could shut off Wapner so I could play Pong or whatever, in a River Raid. So I wanted my own TV in my room so I could play video games whenever I wanted. So that was your inspiration
for putting it together.
That was my motivation.
Your motivation. That's crazy. And then it worked for a minute.
It did. Yeah.
And you put it in your room.
And then I just shit the bed and then I kicked it to the curb.
Oh.
Yeah.
What age were you when you started working at that computer company?
Cyberdyne.
Yes.
Oh, I was 17.
You were a junior in high school?
Yeah. Yeah, I was in high school and I hung out there because actually I didn't mean to work there. Like, and it was really never any official employment, like I never got paid to do it.
Yeah.
I went to that shop one day because I wanted to find software to make music. This is before internet. There was no internet. You couldn't Google how do I, you know what I mean? So you had to like get on your feetsies and go out and actually do things. It was a wild time to be alive, let me tell you. So if you want to learn something, you actually had to go read a book. So anyway, I go to this computer store and I asked him about computer music software, and this guy just would not shut up about it. So I'm like, oh my God, okay, finally somebody who knows kind of like sort of what I want. So, in my mind, I'm thinking this guy's genius. No. And then he said, oh, I have a studio up at the top of this computer place, and then we bring in DJs, we record them, and then we make a radio show, and then we deliver it to the radio station. I was like, dude, no way. This is like the perfect setup for me, because I just wanted to know about computer music software, and you got the whole operation going here, right? As far as I knew. Looking back at it now, it's bullshit, but but then it was like, oh my God, this is the dream. So I just hung out, and I was intern dude. So I watched, I shut up, I listened, and then it came time to like, just probably out of laziness, they're like, you know what, Joel, you've seen me do this enough times, you do it, and I'm gonna go to the bar, wow. So have fun, you know how to do it. So I became that dude, I put myself in that place.
Wow.
I wasn't invited. I wasn't, sometimes you're going to just kick the door down and walk in.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I did. So, but, and then you develop relationships, like you guys get friendly. It wasn't a formal business.
How old, what year was this? You were 17?
17. You just do the math backwards on your own time. But like, I was 44 now. So figure it out. Okay. Now my forte, but I must have been 17, 18.
Yeah.
Maybe even. And then that's just how it evolved. And then I kind of outgrew that. I was a medium-sized fish in a little pool, so, then all of a sudden everyone just kind of just left it up to me to do the edits and learn the new software and do the cool new tricks and learn the editing platforms. So I kind of outpaced them in a way that became, it was great for me. And I think this is great advice is I created this dependence on me.
Yeah.
So they couldn't get rid of me. If I walked out, they'd be screwed. You know what I mean? They'd be back to the Stone Age, in software doing it the old way, So I've been doing it for like a year or two.
Wow.
And it, again, like a lot of this advice is really good and great, but it doesn't apply anymore because that was at a time where it was like the birth of computers and music, so it had a boom of exponential growth of the technology in terms of, guys using tape and stuff like that in the old school way to just all of a sudden, almost like overnight, everything's done on a computer now. So that worked out in my favor because I was the asset and I added value to them as opposed to me just kind of being a little mooch and hanging out. And,
So one day you came in though, and you opened your laptop, right? This is how you got your name.
No, not a laptop.
Yeah.
Oh, but this is probably like another 10 years later.
10 years later.
Yeah. Oh, I was living in a basement apartment in Toronto, and I built my own PCs. You just go to the computer store, you buy the components and just kind of slap it together. It's really not that big of a deal. And I did that. So I really like kind of cut a lot of corners on that kind of stuff just out of laziness. Because a lot of people they love doing like perfectly like clamped wires and all the casing and all that stuff. I just get it to the point where it works. I'm like, good enough. Like it doesn't need to be an art piece. It just, it's like my Chevette, project. So anyway, I left some air gaps and PCI slots like wide open without the covers on them. And I guess what had happened, obviously what happened is at some point when I was out or sleeping or something like I had a mouse problem like in that apartment, like really, I had to like put my cereals and stuff inside containers.
Wow.
Chew at the boxes. So that's downtown basement Toronto things, right? So one of those little fuckers crawled into the PCI slot and then must have either couldn't get back out or he got electrocuted. I don't know. He died in there. And now you don't really, that's not something you'd notice. And opening your computer to make a repair or replace a piece of hardware, it's not something you do.
Right.
maybe once a month, 2 months, sometimes years. Anybody, nobody does it. And so my apartment's stinking to high hell one day. And I couldn't, I swear to God, I put on the rubber gloves and the hazmat and I'm scrubbing and cleaning everything because I think it was like some like jerk chicken that like maybe I put in the vent for some reason. I don't know. It was gnarly. And it was like, the smell of death. It's not good.
It's not good.
So like, I'm going crazy, like literally insane trying to clean this out. And it didn't go away. It was just covered with bleach and everything when I was done, so I'm like, you know what? That's good enough for now. I must have missed something or something, whatever. A couple weeks go by and it just kind of fades out. And then you're like, okay, cool. Don't have to think about that anymore. Maybe a month later, I get a new like PCI card that I gotta like open my computer slap, and I open up take the lid off the fucking thing, and there's this literal fried rodent, like on sitting on top of my GPU, and I was like, no way, that's what it was, because that's the last place you're gonna look for anything, right?
Exactly.
So if you ever have to hide money,
you hide it there.
Oh, no, because they're going to take your computer. So they get your computer and your money. There you go. No, actually, that's the worst place to hide money. Anyway, disregard that. But
that's hilarious.
Yeah, could you imagine they steal your computer and then they get home and they're like, damn.
Joel told me to put all my money in there.
So anyway, the name actually came about is because during that time there's a popular like chat thing called IRC, which was kind of the early internet form of communication before Facebook, before all messaging systems. There was IRC, and IRC you could pick your own name, your own nick, they called it, and your nick had to be a certain amount of letters, and I think my nick then was like Karma K or something like that. It was just in the rave community and on some tech forums and stuff like that. So I had some popularity and friends and stuff like that in these channels. So every time I go into them, they're like, hey, and we talk about the happenings and programming and shit. So I was telling them all, I was like, guys, I figured out the smell thing. And they're like, what was it? Because it was just like an ongoing conversation forever. It's like, did you find it? What was it? Is it something, I go, guys, you're not going to believe this. And I told them the whole story, and they're like, man, that is unreal. Everyone was like kind of laughing.
You said it's a dead mouse.
They said it was a dead mouse and stuff like that. So that was the running joke. And then it didn't happen right then and there, but every time I come back into that channel and somebody would say, oh, look, it's the dead mouse guy.
It's the dead mouse.
Yeah, exactly. Guy. So they would keep saying like that. And I go, and then like, guys, like, it's not funny anymore. Like, I guess that's my new name now, is the dead mouse guy, right? But it's DADMOUSE, but my nick was still my nick. So one time I just gave in to the joke and I typed /Nick DEADMOUSE, but it's invalid because it's
too many letters.
Or too many. So I was like, /Nick DADMAU5, to shorten it. And so that was my name. And everyone was like, oh, that's better, like kind of thing. And so it wasn't like, that's my music name.
That's crazy.
It's just, that's my IRC name. So, and then when the music thing started for me and I started not being successful at it, but just kind of being known in some small subsets on the internet, it's like, oh, it's that time to pick your identity as a musician or a guy. And I was like, and you know me with names, I'm just like, fuck it. Dead Mouse, just do that. Because I thought it was
another album title.
Dead Mouse. Because for two reasons. One, because it was just the lowest hanging fruit I could find, and the second one is the kind of the funny juxtaposition of the DJ thing, because it was right then where it was actually before the DJ boom, but there was still some big DJs out there and stuff like that. And it was always DJ this, DJ Bomber, DJ Zippy, DJ some pretentious ass name, you know what I mean? And so like I don't want to say it, but you know what I'm going to say, some goofy like DJ name that just sounds like that shit at the bottom of an Easter basket, the fluffy plastic stuff. It's called Excelsior. You know what I mean? It's just like euphemistic shit. So I thought, it would be really funny if someone was DJ Dead Mouse and they'd be like, what? You know what I mean? How stupid is that? And I'm like, yeah, it's stupid. Just like this music thing I'm doing. So here we go.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's how it came about.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it's so...
I only told that story like 700 times, I think.
Well, I'm glad you're telling me on it.
It's almost the same every time. This one was a little more
in depth.
A little more.
Yeah.
So this will now stand as the definitive explanation of how I
this is the
versus
story.
The Google result. Because you found a deadmau5's computer. Okay, bye.
You heard it on the Stiletto Room. Well, this cuts to, the way that we protect names, especially in Canada and America, which is via trademark. And our countries are the same because you're Canadian, I'm United States. So, you have to have common law rights. So by using the name, you have a presumption, but it's not protected till you register. Yeah. So when I met you, you had this fabulous name.
Well, I had some.
You had some trademarks in other countries.
That was kind of a big deal when we...
You were a very big deal. But remember, you and I were talking about it, and I was like, wow, we don't have a U.S. trademark. So we had a strategy.
All my stuff was UK-based.
That's right. And also in Europe.
Yeah.
Because you were big all over, but still, it was like...
Home was England.
Some of the countries in the world are first to register, like we are with copyright. So I create...
Whoever gets it first come, first serve.
Yeah, whoever registers it owns it. And most countries and common law countries, they don't have that. It's always like you have to use it first in interstate commerce until you develop enough...
It's graduated licensing.
Right. And then you can register it. So we realized that it wasn't registered in the U.S., so we had to come up with a strategy. And when I called your trademark lawyer...
Was it then?
Before I fired the guy. I don't know.
Was it?
I don't know. But I called
through Sheridan's?
I don't know. He gaslit me, remember?
Oh, right. Gaslighting's not real.
It is fucking real, asshole.
Gaslighting's just shit crazy people say.
You're saying this is going to go viral. He's teasing. Okay, he's got a good sense of humor. So when the fucker gaslighted me, remember? Because I was like, Dean was on the phone, and I talked. He's like, yeah, well, let me explain how it works in America. And I go... yeah, I'm a lawyer, not a hooker. I understand that. So what is your strategy for the U.S.? Like I said, the Disney mark is so prevalent, we won't get it here. And like I said, and I go, you know what? I got to go. Thank you. So when we hang up the phone, talk to you about it, I go, Joel, we can do a strategy to grab your mark in the U.S., that was like really one of our first greatest endeavors. Right?
Was me not getting butchered by a Disney cartoon.
Right. Well, about obtaining the rights to your trademark in the U.S.
Yeah, that was big.
It was very big.
Well, again, but on my side too, it's kind of need to know, 99 problems kind of thing, whereas trying to make music and stay healthy and alive and touring, and then you got to have that other team doing all the...
Yeah. But you're very involved in strategy.
I try to be.
You are involved in strategy because and once it was explained to you why you didn't have the mark in the U.S. and how this was holding you back from certainly merchandising endeavors, which now we have this business that you run yourself, in-house, at Mousetrap, doing everything internally. You said, how can we fix this? And we had a strategy. And, part of the way you keep the use of your trademarks, unlike copyright, when you register copyright, you have those protections for the end of time, regardless if you police them or not police them, they're yours.
Right.
But with trademark, in order to keep the value of your trademark,
I keep pushing.
You have to keep policing it. So whoever owns a trademark has to, look to see if anybody's trying to infringe on it, send cease and desist letters, all these things that they got to do to police the mark to keep its value.
Yeah, and I think that's something a lot of people I just don't think understand because they think, oh, how petty, he's doing this and that. Well, I'm not doing it to get something out of this other person. I'm doing it to help me prove that I'm protecting my brand so that I can further have a better case when it comes to renewals.
Right.
Yeah, that's usually why they do that because I see a lot of that on that because of course, course I don't expect everybody to know the law and practices of trademark and stuff like that. But sometimes you just do the petty shit just to stay on the board.
But when I met you, you didn't even know. And when I tell you,
I didn't know shit.
You were like, okay, what do we do? And now you're so involved in that stuff. And people need to understand, like other artists, like what you did is like, that trademark lawyer, before we fired him, was like, Disney is going to oppose us. And if someone opposes your mark, it's basically tantamount to a litigation. It is a litigation in trademark court. And if someone has a trademark, you're pretty much going to lose. Unless they didn't police the mark like they should have.
Or did some weird things
that
were totally anti the premise of why they're coming at you in the first place. So they're a bit of luck, a bit of just bad business.
Yeah, or not policing it. So like you getting nominated for Grammys and having billboards up and you had a residency at the Wynn. Your image was on the side of the building. Never once did anybody get a cease and desist letter from Disney, like, and all these things. So once I explained it to you, you're like, well, someone needs to start taking pictures and filming all the ways they're not coming after me.
Right.
And it was kind of brilliant strategy. And what people don't
I wish I got deposed for it. I don't like that.
We don't want to wish that on.
No. But it's just, it would have been a funny day. So it would have been an alternate universe. There's me laughing in a chair for 6 hours.
Well, listen, I mean, like that was literally once I explained it to you, you're like, well, why aren't we taking pictures of all these ways that people are not protecting their stuff, you know?
But again, as a creator, first and foremost, or whatever, you know what I mean? That's just not something you want to do 24/7 because then why don't you just go into law practice at that point? Just
you said it and then we all carried it out.
Yeah.
But still, it was kind of brilliant. You know,
I suppose.
Yeah, no, and that's like the most fun I have representing you is all the ideas that you come up with. I mean,
I got some new ones. Actually, we got to talk about. No, you're gonna love them. They're actually pretty minor.
Yeah, that's what you said.
They're cool.
They
always start out
Minecraft.
Every just for the record, every email I write to Dina always starts with "Don't kill me, but."
That is true.
And then she just writes back, "I'm gonna kill you, LOL."
It's always some new area of law that I
be mad, but that's how you start a conversation with a great lawyer.
Oh, thanks, Joel. Well, I always have to figure out your idea and how it fits into protection of your intellectual property, and then how do we do that, and then how does that get executed, and how much is it going to cost?
I think, well, it's good. It's good. I wish I knew this starting. You know, from the moment I thought I was going into like a big office in London with 20 staff and, lit neon sign of the venue, my first management agreement, my first record deal. And they paid for my flight to England. And I'm like, oh my God, this is it. I made it. I'm getting signed. Flew out there. And I ended up in a barn in Kent with some horses farting around in the distance. And I'm like, oh, this is the music business. I see.
In a nutshell. Yeah.
But it worked out.
Yeah, it did work out.
So
it did work out.
Dean, my manager, Wilson, he was involved with Andy Rutherford and Sergey and just, Kent, friends and family running their label, which was, pretty successful at the time. I think I came in at a good time for them is when they were, they hit the ground running, and as they started running, that's when I was introduced into the mix through Chris Lake. And to see it grow was insane because I'm not, there's no exaggeration. It was a barn outside of his actual home where he lived, and then, a horse pasture in Kent in England. And if you Google Kent, England, that's what you're going to find is a lot of farms and stuff. And it went from there to our first office in Brick Lane above an All Saints, and that was our London office, and which is holy shit, this is so much better than the barn. to all that, and then coming here to Canon and being partners with Live Nation, Rock Nation, that building, and then it's like holy shit, we're Live Nation building in Beverly Hills, to 360 with Gillespie and Calvin Harris and that office and La Brea. We've got our own building now, and it's just crazy to see how much things can grow. through not just me, but, a team effort of all these people of just coming literally from small beginnings to greatness, And now it's funny because I'm starting to see this whole like wave of kids and, people that want to start pursuing seriously a new music career coming to me about like I've always been this. I've always been had this great setup and amazing team and management, and lawyers and agents and stuff.
Oh, you've been through it.
Through it.
Yeah.
We were talking my first show I played for 500 pounds with Nick Fanciulli and at Ministry of Sound, which is basically most DJs our DJs their whole lives and never get to play that room, and that was my first show. So that was insane. The pay was shit, but it was the most money I've ever seen in my life. Like I'm being flown to England and back and I'm going to have $800 in my bank account. That is insane. Right. I was over the moon until 3 weeks later when I ran out of money because I had to buy groceries or whatever, but it's a good start, and now it's just through the ceiling. Yeah. But it's bigger needs, bigger team, bigger expenses. So it's...
Well, you have so many divisions now. Like you have everything in-house. Your merch company's in-house. Your touring company's in-house. I mean, even
the message is really, it's like you don't just... if you want to start something like this, that's how you start it. It starts out in a shed. It starts out with Mr. Walt Disney in a barn in Florida, or
Steve Jobs in a garage.
If that's all the great empires all come from that. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that because they're like, hey, I'm just going to get involved with this already big thing and then I'm going to somehow take it over or whatever. Right. No, that's never going to happen.
Right.
And it's a fix. I'm not saying don't, you know what I mean? But if you're like some super talented kid and some major comes up to you and says, hey, we're just going to cut you a thing. And ultimately, we were screwing you, but it's really good for right now, and then they're like, oh, okay. And they do it and that's great. And it's okay to get screwed. I did a lot. So, it's just, but it's also good to keep in mind that, you can go from chop shop to top shop.
That's right.
Over 20 years.
25.
But, let's say the average life expectancy is 100, which it ain't, but a quarter of your life.
Right. Only. So I want to talk about when we met.
Oh, boy. Which time?
Well, the very first time we met. And then we could talk about later, years later when you hired me. Oh, boy. But the very first time we met.
Well, we didn't actually meet. And that was probably for the better. That was probably for my benefit. Yes. I've been friends with Thomas Lee Bass for many years. He is a drummer in a band called Moat Lee Crew. Tommy Lee.
Tommy Lee.
So he's my buddy. And I mean that truly. I really love him. And me and him have a lot in common in terms of our success and growth. So that I have very few, very, 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 probably less than 4 friends that I can ever go to and say, I'm having a problem with this. And sometimes you don't want to talk to your lawyer.
Right.
A lot of times I don't want to talk to my lawyer. But, and sometimes you want to talk to your management. You don't want to confide in business or team players and stuff like that. You just want to air out some shit to a friend. And I say that to my friend. They're just like, okay, well, sorry you're feeling that way. I can't fucking relate. You know what I mean? So Tommy's that guy in my life that is like, dude, I get it. You know what I mean? It's, you got to pick between shit or poo sometimes. And we rap and then that's that. And it is a very, a non-symbiotic relationship. Yeah. I have never went, oh my God, I want to do a Motley Crue remix. Or Tommy's like, oh, can you give me a deadmau5 remix? It's totally not a symbiotic relationship, those are the funnest kind. We talk about this, I couldn't even tell you here, but we talk about some incredibly stupid shit that has nothing to do with nothing. And that's what I love, the off-brain friends. Need nothing from each other. And it's just a good time. So anyway, many years ago, I just decided to go along for the ride on one of his little tours. He was doing the Carnival of Sins tour, and there were a bunch of characters on that tour, and it was a bus tour. It was a circus themed, so there were some little people there, and we all took a liking to this one little dude. named Mike Magura, who's
Mighty Mike.
Mighty Mike. Yeah, and he was a performer during the show, or you get on a little miniature motorcycle and stuff because it was circus themed or whatever. Anyway, the guy was out of control, kind of. He used to get wasted. So this is the end of the rock era, just before it's like, oh, you can't do that anymore. But it was like literally the turning point. So I'm so glad I got to be able to do some of that shit. So we get all knackered up on Jaeger was the
Jägermeister
choice. Yeah,
that's right.
And just have a fun time.
Tommy had a Jägermeister machine in his bus. Had.
Stole.
Yes.
Later. That's another story.
Much to my dismay.
Yeah. So anyway, one night, as one does, we all got pretty titsed up, and we were driving around like a Mall of America. I can't remember exactly where it was. We were driving around the bus, and Earl, the bus driver, was just
in Cincinnati, Ohio,
somewhere in a massive parking lot because they're just the best places to park buses because you don't have to pay for the rest stop shit. Anyway, it's good. Save some money on tour. So while he's cruising around this parking lot trying to stake out a place to park this Prevost, me and Tommy thought it would be really funny to open up the window and hang Mike out of the window. So I've got one of his legs and Tommy's got one of his legs, and we're like dangling him out of the window. He's having a great time. It was all in good fun. And we're laughing, and we didn't have phones that were like good enough to video because, man, that would have made a solid like post, but because we have Blackberries, right? So they only just took like some shitty pictures. But anyway, thank God it wasn't recorded. And I guess somebody saw it and called the police. And so somebody passerby driving around, and then the police were coming under the pretense that two grown men were dangling a child out of the window of a moving bus.
So the police pulled you over.
Well, they didn't pull me. I wasn't driving.
No, they pulled the bus over.
They came over to see what's up, and obviously.
So I get called.
Someone's ready to go to jail.
It was Sunday night.
She gets called because
on my BlackBerry.
Tony Sullivan's like, guys, cut that shit out.
That's the tour manager.
So we pull Mike in. Yeah, Tony Sullivan, who was Tommy's personal assistant and tour manager. So we pull Mike back in. He's like, he's not. He's kind of a whatever. But he was like the dad at that point. He comes into the room because there's a door that separates the front and the back cabin of this bus. He's like, you guys knock it off. Get him back in the thing. And you go to bed or I got to deal with this. Slams the door. You guys behave and be quiet. And so Tony's trying to like tell the police, like, look, man, it's not a child. It's Mike. Here he is, and they're just being idiots. We'll knock it out and they'll go to bed. And the cops were just kind of like, oh my God, typical rock star behavior. Okay, have a good night, sir. So Tony, during this process, is calling Dina, who represented Tommy at the time, to like
Motley Crue,
just give him an update. Hey, yeah, your boy. So she finds out, and I think what was transpired over the phone, I guess you know better than me. And Dina was like, "Who's he with?" Which is usually the question when somebody gets into some kind of trouble. It's always like, who is he hanging out with? Is good information to know. So Tony disclosed that, he's with this DJ deadmau5 or whatever. And Tina's like, well, whatever, just knock it off. No. I don't know how that call went. And then
I had to get a lawyer in Cincinnati, Ohio to go to court the next day.
My tour, not my problem. Not my client. I am but a vessel. So that's that. And that just kind of goes away. It's another day for Dina because she's got to do this at least twice a week with Tommy. So that kind of leaves memory for a while. We fast forward maybe like 3-4 years later. I'm becoming more of a deadmau5, as it were. And I was in a relationship with someone here in LA, and she was one of Dina's clients. So I would come to the office, and I come to the office one day with her, hey, it's my boyfriend. And then Dina, I was in Dina's office, and Dina's like, hi. And I'm like, hello. And I've heard of Dina and I know her position and all that stuff. So I'm a little intimidated a bit because Dina's a big player, lawyer, and I've got my super passive aggressive UK lawyer. And so like, I was just like, hi, nice to meet you. I'm trying to be nice. And then Dina was very polite. She's like, hi, how are you? I've heard about you. What's your name? And I'm like, Joel. And she says, no, it's like, do you have a musician? I'm like, deadmau5. And then the tone changed very, very abruptly. You it was you. And now I'm like, okay, there goes my fucking music, my career in music. Because now one of the top lawyers in music just hates me for some reason. I don't know why. Because I'm like, oh shit, it was me. What? Who were you related to that I heard? And then she continues on. It was you were with Tommy and the bus, and it's no. She's telling me the whole thing, and I'm like, oh, and then it started to come to me. I was like, oh my God, that's right.
Mighty Mike.
Tommy's lawyer. Shit. And we had a good laugh about it. And I still had a lawyer at the time. So it was just kind of more of a, hi, how are you? See ya, peace out. And then I guess that the client that I was in a relationship with, she ended up doing her own thing and all that stuff. And Dina no longer represented her. So I guess within a week, Dina reached out and said, do you need a lawyer?
No, you hired me while you were with her on my couch. And then I called Tommy. I go, guess who's sitting on my couch with your ex-girlfriend at the time?
I thought we couldn't because I was still with the UK guy.
No, you fired him. Dean fired him.
Oh. Well.
Did you not know that? 15 years later, Dean fired him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was too much of a...
Well, he was
very scared.
Passive aggressive too.
No, just passive. There was no aggression. I think that was the problem.
Well,
anyway, you're very passive.
You sat on the couch with her, and she said, "You need to hire Dina," and he's like, "Okay, you're hired." And I said, "How am I going to do that?" And you called Dean.
You need to know about electronic. You go, was that your first electronic music client?
Yes.
Oh.
You call Dean and you say, "Dean, I hired this woman. And this is who she is, and come and meet her, and this is what I'm doing." And then you call Tommy.
Did you know Dean previously?
I did not know Dean previously.
Oh, yeah, I guess nobody really did, because he was fresh meat.
Yeah.
He just moved down from...
I didn't know Dean previously. Yes. Oh, but then when so you and I, we started working together with Dean, of course, and then through a couple of years later, Dean and I both had kids. And our kids started going to school together when they were 2.5 years old, and now they're going to be 12. That's crazy.
So are your kids.
My kids are crazy.
They're a little crazy.
Yeah. They're like, are we going to go on the podcast with deadmau5?
Really?
Yeah.
Was that Buddy or was
Buddy? And I said, no, you're going to go by yourself.
Since too busy, looking.
No, they go, well, why can't we go with deadmau5? I said, because you have school. Well, we don't have to go to school. I go, yeah, call your mom and tell her that you don't have to go
my mommy is?
Go to school. Go call her and say you don't have to go to school.
Mommy said under section 13.
I don't have to go to school. Yeah. Anyway, so, and it's been a ride ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's
been cool watching your kids grow up, though.
You're very involved in the kids' lives. How many times have I brought them to shows?
I like those dudes.
Yeah. Amazing. You're good with kids, Joel.
I can be. There's small doses.
I know, but
that's why I love having nephews.
So here's the one thing. Before I talk about the things that we're doing now, okay, one of the things that I have to bring up, because it was so memorable to me, and it's such a massive part of my emotional life and practicing law. So here I am practicing law, doing this thing, writing this motivational book, having you on the podcast, having you as a client, building this amazing business, all the things. The one thing that you did that literally I remember sitting with your mom and being in tears, the two of us in tears together, sitting there watching you perform this live after I've just been through it with you for 2 years making it, is when you did the classical music album.
Oh.
Because I was a classical music major.
Right.
And you decide, which, like you do, you wake up, don't kill me, but.
But I want to write a symphony.
You said.
Entire 82.
You did. You said, I want to take my hits and I want to score them for an 80-piece orchestra. So, and then I blacked out for the rest of the email, but cut to like getting somebody.
Yeah, Gregory Rivert.
Gregory, it was amazing. Okay. And you.
John Beal.
And you scored your biggest hits for an 82-piece symphony orchestra. And I watched this happen. Like it was it literally took 2 years to do. And it was like a 360 moment for me sitting in these classes, studying classical guitar in 1990s for my undergrad. And here we are all these years later, and you did this, and it's incredible. And then you went and performed the whole thing. And I sat there with your mother, and we literally just like held hands the entire time and just cried while we watched this happen. That was incredible. I don't think I ever told you how meaningful that is to me.
Well, it holds a place for me, but I'm not really emotionally available for emotions, like a lot. Heavy. You
do it and you move on.
I do.
But that's how brilliant you are. But you know what you leave people with when you do that? Like incredible.
Yeah. I can.
Like for me, here was me, Joel. I was this woman, tattooed because I was an artist before, didn't go to the right law school, gay, had a huge drinking problem. Like I had all these obstacles. No, everybody says to me, "Why did you open your own law firm?" And I go, "Huh?" And I go, it wasn't a decision. Nobody wanted me, But here I go through this whole thing, build this thing, and then this 360 moment comes when all of a sudden, from studying classical music guitar, when my father wanted me to get a teaching degree to have something to fall back on, I'm like, no, I'm doing this. And then here I'm sitting at the Wilshire Theater watching this 82-piece orchestra play these hits that you had, composed. I mean, it was just a 360 moment. And we are left with those emotions with your music. Like every time I hear Avaricia, Joel, that song is so meaningful to me. I'll never forget flying to Reading and Leeds.
It's about greed.
I know.
Oh, okay.
I know. But flying to Reading and Leeds when you were the headliner of the Reading and Leeds Festival. Mm-hmm. And here it is, 100,000 people in a field in England. And it was that you play that song. It was the opening song, and the crowd is going insane. And everybody's got their, their lights on and their lighters and everything, and they're waving
road flares.
They're waving their cell. I mean, it was incredible.
Yeah, it's cool. And
we're left with those emotions.
The problem I have with it, though, is that I see that every show. So you almost kind of, you get it like in some moments. Like I had it at Red Rocks and the Hollywood Bowl. I think at the Wilshire Theater for sure. But I still see that 30 times a month, you know what I mean? Maybe like 4 or 5 times a month when I do a big show. Like I have those moments all the time. And it's probably that moment for those people every show because it's different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But for me, it's just kind of like.
Yeah. You've always been like that. You've always compartmentalized everything that's going on in your life. And that's how you do your music. Like you will dive deep into whatever it is, this obsession, and then all of a sudden it's like vomit and it's out and you leave it and you move on and you're on to something else. I mean, literally, we're not even like have release dates for things and we're doing album covers and you're like, email Dina to don't kill me, but I have an idea for another record. And we're still in the one.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Dina yelled at me last week because I wanted to move on to something else while she's working on this other thing.
But it's amazing.
Yeah, she was in a really bad mood.
No, I wasn't in a bad mood. We're busy. Joel, look around. Okay?
A
lot of it is you.
Really hurt my feelings.
You. Anyway, so now what you're doing, so tell me this next steps.
Well, this is in the future, right?
Yep.
Okay, so now that we've kind of JV'd up with CMG, that's taken a lot of stress off my plate, which is really primarily the reason I did this. It's those APAs and all that stuff are good and great and all that, but like ideally what it meant for me was creative freedom. There is a big thing, and I don't think a lot of people could really convey it or understand it unless they were like a career musician kind of thing where they've just been doing this thing their whole life. There comes a point where you've been doing it so long, you're getting very, very close to your, what I would say, like just for now, an expiration date. You know, everybody's got one.
Yeah.
And ultimately it's when you're dead, you know, but in the interim, you know what I mean? It's not out of self-interest or lack of talent. Just people like new stuff. They like fresh blood. They like the new act.
Yeah.
And as that kind of edges closer, especially with electronic music and the DJ culture thing. Yeah. Name 3 DJs in their 50s going into their 60s that are headlining. There's still the big, don't get me wrong, ultra talented, still plenty of guys out there that started at the beginning, but even before me, and are killing it to this day. But it's the 18-year-old new that's getting that headline slot and all that stuff too. So you got to think about that, you know, and as you go with your thing. So one of my things is like, well, first let me disclaim that I am eternally and totally mystified and grateful that I've been able to hold this kind of trajectory for as long as I have.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And if I take pride in anything, it's that. Because as a band, you know, as like the Foo Fighters or whoever, okay, yeah, you know, your great bands are great bands and they tend to stay. In the electronic music market, the odds are never in your favor, is what I like to say, you know. But not because you suck, it's not because you're great, it's just because that is that business, that is that industry, that's how it moves. So if you're not constantly moving or reinventing or being consistent, you know, and not changing up enough and keeping your brand alive and keeping, you know, your, I hate the word content, kind of like what those people like, then you can cruise, and it's really hard to do that. So again, full disclosure, I am very eternally grateful to be able to still go and literally play a headline slot at EDC Mexico 2 days ago. Yeah. Also headline slot 15 years ago. Yeah. You know, so that's incredible. Like, so, but it's stressful. Not stressful because it's like, but it's stressful because in the back of my mind for the longest time in the last, like, I'd say 5 or 6 years is when it's really started to affect me, is that, this new kid come up. He's super hot. He's getting the headline slot. And it's not a jealousy thing. It's just a business competitive thing, right? So to keep your business alive, you have to be competitive. Right. You have to do things a little better. You have to be a little more on top of your game. And that's not just for out of pride of doing it. It's for all this financial shit that you've taken on. So like, you know, like with our business, my mortgages and my hobbies and stuff like that. I don't want that to just start to dwindle down and then, back into a basement apartment. So I have to constantly be worried about what I say, what I do, and make sure that I don't know, is the word relevant still relevant? Probably not. That's how fast things go. You know what I'm talking about. So with the APA, that has removed the business need for me to compete. I can still compete. I can still try my best and try to do one better every time. That never stops. But I think it gets a little better now that there's not this thing in the back of my mind that goes, you know, Joel, one day this could all go away.
I think that's it's interesting that you say that.
My dad used to fucking say that. And I used to be like, yeah, whatever, dick. Yeah. It would be, well, he would tell me, I get my first $1 million from doing this year of work, you know, which is like insane, you know. And he, like, this is within the first 5 years of my career, and, you know, go see the family for Christmas. And then I remember one of those things, you got to be really careful because, you know, that could just go away. And he's absolutely right. Yeah. It absolutely can. I love saying it. You're only ever one tweet away from ending your career, you know?
Yeah, well, every creator, I mean, that's like the ongoing trauma of all creators. Like they're going to end up eating macaroni and cheese powered by a cigarette lighter.
I had that. I had that for a very long time, even up to the not too distant past. Mm-hmm. You know what I was like in the last 2 weeks of that APA?
Yeah,
it was like
incredible.
It was heart wrenching. Mm-hmm. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. It was crazy just because of what's at stake. But anyway, all things aside, it's just like that doesn't ever truly go away, and that's with everything. Yeah, you know. So I think that's a good driver, but so is passion. So is because you wanna, you know what I mean. So it's not very like relative to, you know, this doom and gloom that like, hey, I'm gonna do this, and the second I see a pot, I'm gonna back the fuck because that's just a big of a mistake too. You know. Yeah.
Yeah, but I love now that you have this creative freedom and you don't have that stress. And now you're working on great music and you're building a company. I can doom scroll
through my management kind of runs my Instagram, so to speak. I chime in from time to time, funny shit, but generally they do. So what that means for me is that like when I go on it, the algorithm, you know what I mean? So I see a lot of this, and I'll admit it, dude, I would see some young kids that literally just started last year getting these, you know, multi-million-dollar contracts and these huge productions, and I get a little jelly, you know what I mean? Like fuck these kids, you know what I mean? Like, and then now, cool, good for them, great, whatever, you know what I mean? That's how I feel.
Well, you're a legend. I mean, a lot of these kids starting out in electronic and dance music, I mean, you are a legend in that area.
I haven't come
about that, Joel.
But that's the weird thing. I don't think I've come to terms with that yet, because you know how time works. It feels like it was just yesterday we were hanging fucking little dudes out of bus windows. You know what I mean? It really feels like last month. So for, you know, that last month to now, it's like legend. No, Lin Mansell's a legend. Philip Glass is a legend. You know what I mean? So, but now you're thinking, wait, I've been doing this for 25 years. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. So a little bit of it kind of sinks.
And I feel like the way you do, like I'm in the fourth quarter, so I want to be happy. I love what I'm doing. I mean, think about it. Like I don't complain often because I'm like, how can I complain about anything when my goal was just to eat, right? And here we are.
How could I complain about anything when my goal was to sit on top of a records store, a computer lab with a bunch of potheads delivering radio shows?
And
that's all I wanted to do.
A dead mouse in your computer.
I still talk to them, by the way.
You do?
Adam Delaire.
That's the one thing I love about, well, there's a lot of things I love about you, but one of the things that is very unique, you and Steven Tyler have this, is that you have relationships that go back from your childhood. Like you are connected to people on a very authentic way that you go back years and years with. When you were talking about your 4 friends.
Tyler has childhood friends?
He does.
Oh, that's amazing.
Very much so. Yeah. From Marshfield. Yeah.
I don't know him that well.
Oh, yeah. Very much that he grew up with, that are still in his life. Yeah. You're like that too. You, like when you were talking about Tommy being one of your closest friends, like I know your 4 closest buds, and it's like they have been consistently in your life for 30 years at least.
The miraculous part is they've all been doing great.
Yeah. Oh, they're all doing great.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love to see friends and family do well.
Yeah.
Especially Duda.
Mm-hmm. You know, Dude is doing great.
What an amazing thing. Like, it couldn't have ended any better for me, because I remember I started actually my commercial music career was with Steve. Mm-hmm. We started as BSOD.
That's right.
That predates the deadmau5 stuff. And we had the let's be the next 9 Inch Nails, let's be, you know, like this or whatever. Yeah. The big duo thing. And then it just kind of, you know, fizzled out because just that's happenstance and circumstance and stuff. And I became the deadmau5. And while that kind of happened, there was almost like a few moments in my life where I just felt like I can't live with myself if I'm like super successful. Steve's just kind of like chilling in his 1-bedroom.
Well, he's super successful.
Well, he is now. You know what I mean? So that's amazing.
Let me ask you a question. If there was one person in the world, living or dead, that you would want to have dinner with, who would it be?
It would be you, but you'd be dead. You like that one?
Well, we're going to dinner tonight, and I'm very much fucking alive.
Somebody, that was like one of my hardest burns that actually went unnoticed once to someone. I remember doing an interview, I wish it was with a bigger outlet. It was just some guy from some local thing. He goes, okay, name one artist you'd want to have that you'd want to work with, living or dead. And I go, Marshmello, but he'd be dead. It was so funny. The guy pissed his pants, and I never went anywhere. So now I got to recycle it with you. So you can just edit around that and then just do that. That's the intro.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Do you have anybody else?
Oh, okay. No, real answer?
Yeah.
Okay, well, what is it? Have dinner with?
If you were to pick anybody living or dead to have dinner with, who would it be?
My mom.
Yeah.
I like dinners with my mom.
I love dinners with your mom.
Yeah.
She's the best.
She's living.
She's the best. We love her. Shout out to Nancy Zimmerman, who raised one of the most brilliant, empathetic men. Even though he says that he leaves those emotions behind, he really feels very deeply.
He's got good reins on them, I think.
You are amazing. You're an amazing human being. You're an amazing friend. You're an amazing client. You're an amazing artist. Your music is very emotional. It's incredible. I have several huge hits that I love. Monophobia, Aberration. I can go on and on and on and on. You are just an amazing person, Joel. And I love you very much.
Don't you ever retire.
Never going to. You don't retire from a job you love. You just don't.
When I decide maybe if I do, which I probably won't, but yeah, then we can do that.
Yeah, and then you could have dinner with me when I'm dead.
Yeah, fucking hey. Yeah, that's right. Come on, Dina.
Dig me up and let's prop me up and let's have dinner. You are in the Stiletto Room with the one and only Joel Zimmerman, otherwise known as deadmau5. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.
My stilettos